Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going in depth into 5 players that you must draft that no one is talking about right now for 2024 fantasy football. There's a lot of conversation that happens about fantasy football, and there's going to be a whole lot more that happens up until August, but right now, a lot of people aren't talking about these 5 players that I'm excited to draft right now for 2024 fantasy football. Before we get on into things, if you guys do end up enjoying today's video and you are new, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below while you're down there. Whether you are new to the channel or not, make sure you leave a like on today's video. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into 5 players that you must draft that no one is talking about right now for 2024 fantasy football. We begin with the first must-draft player that no one is talking about right now, and that is David Montgomery, running back of the Detroit Lions, current underdog ADP running back 19 at pick 73.4. Now, I am definitely all aboard the Jahmyr Gibbs Express, and I do really believe that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to see more usage in 2024 compared to 2023, but we all know damn well that David Montgomery isn't going to do a Houdini, right? He's not going to completely disappear, and David Montgomery is still going to be getting 10 plus carries a game in this Detroit Lions offense. Now, I understand that David Montgomery isn't a guy that's going to see a bunch of targets every single game because Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be that receiving back for the team, but David Montgomery might end up repeating with 15 plus carries every single game. And if that is the case on an offense with such a great offensive line like the Lions, on an offense that is going to be scoring a bunch of points every single game like the Lions, then David Montgomery might be a steal right now as the running back 19. Now, we do not root for injuries, and I am not looking for Jahmyr Gibbs to get hurt. I love Jahmyr Gibbs, so knock on wood, we don't root for injuries here. But if Jahmyr Gibbs was to go down, then there is a legitimate chance that David Montgomery finishes the 2024 fantasy football season as a top 5 running back in those games without Jahmyr Gibbs. And if Jahmyr Gibbs plays all season, then David Montgomery is going to be a reliable RB2 week in and week out. If he has that game where he scores more than 1 touchdown, then you are going to end up very, very happy. So David Montgomery is one of the least risky picks in that running back 16 through 24 range, and his upside is incredibly high because of the fact that this offense is so great. Now, again, I will get down on my knees and give the metaphorical gawk gawk 9,000 special to Jahmyr Gibbs. I love Jahmyr Gibbs, but we can't just think that David Montgomery is going to hit the John Cena you can't see me, right? He is still going to be there. This is a guy running back 17 last year in PPR, 15 in PPR points per game, 14 starts last year, 14 games played. He was 15th in carries, 9th in rushing yards, 49th in targets, 57th in receptions, 57th in receiving yards, and 4th in total touchdowns. He averaged the 6th most defenders in the box. They were loading the box up like you got a Taco Bell special, and 17th in true yards per carry. Again, is David Montgomery necessarily going to be a league winner if Jahmyr Gibbs stays healthy all year long? I don't think so. But I think even if Jahmyr Gibbs is able to play every single game and David Montgomery's in every single game as well, then you are not losing very much value at all drafting him at the running back 19, and the upside is so high that I am ecstatic to draft David Montgomery right now, and no one seems to be talking about him because everyone is loving talking about Jahmyr Gibbs. Next up, we move to the number 2 player that you got to draft that no one is talking about, and that is Jake Ferguson, Fergalicious, tight end of the Dallas Cowboys, underdog ADP, tight end 9 at pick 88.4. Jake Ferguson last year was his real coming out party, no Diddy last season, tight end 10 in PPR, tight end 10 in PPR points per game, 17 games played with 16 starts, 102 targets, 6 per game, ranking 7th, 71 receptions, 4.2 per game, ranking 9th, 761 receiving yards, 44.8 per game, number 8, and 5 total touchdowns, 7th in terms of efficiency stats. A lot of people like to make fun of Dak Prescott, and while the guy chokes a fat hog in the playoffs, he is pretty solid during the regular season. 6th in target accuracy for Jake Ferguson last season, 15th in yards per target, and he was 13th in yards per reception. Now, the reason why I started to kind of cool off on Jake Ferguson in the offseason was my thought that, hey, Jerry Jones loves offense, right? He is going to go ahead and potentially maybe reach on a wide receiver in the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft. I thought it was almost destiny that this team would end up with another receiver, and then the team doesn't really do anything at the wide receiver position that would really throw a wrench into the amount of looks that Jake Ferguson gets game in and game out. Now, they still have CeeDee Lamb, they still have Brandon Cooks, but they got rid of Michael Gallup as he is now on the Las Vegas Raiders. So they kind of just took Gallup out of the equation, and he galloped his way Kentucky Derby style to the Raiders. So now, Jake Ferguson is still in a very solid spot on an offense that during the regular season is going to run the points up. Jake Ferguson is an excellent red zone threat. And at tight end number 9, I think he is going to outpace that number this season. At number 3, we move to Jordan, love me tender, love me sweet, quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, underdog ADP, quarterback 10 at pick 88.6. Now, when I was looking at underdog ADP, I was genuinely perplexed at the fact that Jordan Love is coming off the board as the quarterback number 10. Now, some people will propose a quote-unquote sophomore slump on Jordan Love. Now, I get this guy has been in the NFL for a while. Last year was basically his rookie season. Basically. Now, technically not, because he was able to learn the offense for all those years, learn from Aaron Rodgers, but last year was his first real crack at things for multiple games in a season, and the guy was phenomenal. He was amazing. He looked like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and he ripped Jerry's World a new asshole in the playoffs. And he honestly could have made it even further in the playoffs. They could have made it to the NFC Championship game in the first year of the Jordan Love era in Green Bay. And while Bears fans around the world, fans of the teams in the Packers division, were begging down on their knees, screaming to the football gods that, hey, they can't do it again. They can't have Brett Favre, then Aaron Rodgers, and Jordan Love be amazing. And guess what? It feels like those fans have fallen into a bear trap in the NFC North because Jordan Love is legit. Jordan Love was the quarterback number 5 last season. 17 games played with 17 starts. He was 5th in passing attempts, 8th in completions, 7th in passing yards, over 4,000 passing yards. 7th at quarterback, 32 passing touchdowns at a 5.5% rate. 2nd, passing touchdown rate is something that I always look into. I whip out the microscope to inspect every single year. 5% is a very normal number for a quarterback to throw in terms of passing touchdown rate. If they throw 7%, then it's very likely that that percentage is going to come pummeling back down to earth, and the next year they might end up not, or they're more than likely not going to throw anywhere close to that percentage of a passing touchdown rate. 5.5% is repeatable, right? It doesn't jump off the page as something that's incredibly crazy, as something that would be impossible to repeat, so that's good for Jordan Love. 11 interceptions, 10th at quarterback, not the best, but just 0.64 per game. And then Jordan Love has some sneaky rushing upside. Now, you're not going to see him run out of the pocket and run a motherfucker over like Josh Allen. You're not going to see him juke someone out of their socks like Kyler Murray. But he's going to rush every once in a while. 40 carries last year, 14th at the quarterback position for 247 rushing yards, 12th, and 4 touchdowns, 7th. If he puts up 225 plus rushing yards and 3, 4, 5 touchdowns again, then you're going to be happy with that. Again, this guy is not going to magically turn into Michael Vick out there running the ball, but that carry value does give him a decent enough boost in my mind. Again, this guy was the quarterback 5 last season, and we are discrediting him by putting him as the quarterback 10. I get that the Packers didn't make some type of crazy wave, right? They didn't draft the next Justin Jefferson. They didn't bring in Tyreek Hill. They didn't bring in some crazy weapon at the wide receiver position, but they still have the guys that Jordan Love was doing doing it with last year, pause, and they also just brought in a new running back, right? They got rid of Aaron Jones. They bring in Josh Jacobs, and I think that's kind of not the craziest move, right? It's not like going from Isaiah Spiller to going to Christian McCaffrey, but it's like kind of even Stevens, if not slightly better for the Packers because of Josh Jacobs. So I'm pretty ecstatic about this offense as a whole in Green Bay, and I am excited to see what Jordan Love does just with another offseason. Another offseason getting better. And as a Christian Watson truther, I think if Watson's able to stay healthy, that's going to help out Jordan Love a ton as well. 7th in air yards per pass attempt, 8th in fantasy points per dropback, 10th in QBR, 13th in true passer rating. I'm going to get off my knees. I scraped them a little bit talking about Jordan Love. So again, I'm very excited about him this season, and I think he's going to be probably the same as last year as a top 5 quarterback, and you can get him as the quarterback 10. To be honest, this kind of feels like another pick like David Montgomery, right? Where if Jordan Love has a bad season, right, as long as he doesn't get hurt, knock on wood, I don't really see him falling outside the top 10 at the quarterback position. So he feels very safe, like wrapping a Trojan around your squad. At number 4, we got Austin Ekeler. If you guys have enjoyed thus far, hit that subscribe button. If you're new, hit that like button whether you are new to the channel or not. We got Austin Ekeler, running back of the Washington Commanders. Underdog ADP, running back 33 at pick 108. Now, I know you heard the name Austin Ekeler, and a bunch of people's panties just went in a bunch, right? A bunch of people started to panic. They started to sweat profusely, like that gif of that dude from Key and Peele, right? You started to get a little bit nervous. Knees are weak, arms are heavy, mom spaghetti, Eminem style, right? Because Austin Ekeler essentially fucked you in the ass last year without the use of lube, right? He bent you over the table, 50 Shades of Grey style, and sodomized you SNM like the fucking Rihanna song, okay? Austin Ekeler was bad last season. The Chargers were not good last season, and Ekeler a lot of the time looked like he was running in quicksand. Running back 26 last year in PPR as a first-round pick is downright despicable like the little minions. 90, I guess I can't read. 21 in PPR points per game, tied with Brian Robinson Jr., his now teammate. 14 games played, 31st in carries, 36th in rushing yards, but top five in targets, 12th in receptions, 9th in receiving yards, 24th in total touchdowns, 6th in yards per reception, and 8th in yards created per touch. So without denying anything, I'm not going to deny, right? Austin Ekeler was awful last season. Austin Ekeler was a disgrace of a first-round pick. The Chargers were down astronomical. And I get that going to Washington isn't this big bump up, right? Going to Washington isn't like being a Jets fan and then magically you get to become a Chiefs fan, right? That's not what it's like, okay? But with a rookie quarterback, I think we could see a bunch of dump-offs to Ekeler. It's not like Brian Robinson is some prolific pass catcher, so we're to see a bunch of Ekeler catching passes. Now, running back 33, I'm willing to take that shot. I understand that I could end up looking real foolish with Ekeler, right? He comes out this season running in quicksand again, right? He comes out this season and plays like last year, and then you're probably a little bit disappointed. But if he plays just like last year, he's still going to outperform his ADP. Again, Eckler's 1 year older. I'm not saying he's getting younger. I'm not saying that Ekeler found the fountain of fucking youth. But what I'm telling you is that at running back 33, a guy that should be getting 100 targets, I think, this season, I'm just going to pick him. I am just going to pick him. I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to bite down on the towel and just hope that we get a better version of Ekeler than last season. And then Ekeler, again, we've seen it in the past. This is a guy that could be the RB1 in fantasy. Do I think he's going to do that at Washington? No. No, I do not. But at running back 33, it feels a little disrespectful. Final guy to discuss here, we got Joshua Palmer, wide receiver of the LA Chargers, underdog ADP wide receiver 58 at pick 126.5. Now, we have been, as a channel, someone I love talking about, Ladd McConkey, the first-round draft pick for the Chargers. I think that guy could lead the team in targets. But guess what? If he doesn't do it, you know who's going to do it. It's going to be Joshua Palmer. It's not going to be that certified bum Quentin Johnston. It's going to be Joshua Palmer. And Joshua Palmer comes at a huge discount, right? He's picked 126.5. People are steaming Lad McConkey, Julian Edelman 2.0 up the draft board, right? He's going in the 6th, the 7th, the 8th round potentially. Palmer goes later. Now, I understand that the Chargers are going to be a team that wants to run the ball, run the ball gently down the stream. But even on a more run-heavy offense, if you're Justin Herbert, the pervert's #1 target, that's going to pay dividends, especially as the wide receiver 58. And this is also kind of my sentiment for Ekeler, right? Ekeler goes at pick 108, right? At that point, you're risking it for the biscuit because it's so late, you see the upside. It's the same thing with Joshua Palmer. It is so late in the draft that I'm going to take that potential moonshot. That could end up being a swing and a miss, right? The ball could already be in the catcher's mitt before I even swing. But I think that Joshua Palmer is good enough to be the wide receiver 1 here, and he comes at a massive discount. Wide receiver 65 last season, wide receiver 46 in PPR points per game, 10 games played with 6 starts, 6.1 targets per game, 3.8 receptions per game, 58.1 receiving yards per game, and 2 total touchdowns on the year. Palmer, when he was the guy, right? When Allen's hurt, Mike Williams is hurt, as per usual, he was decent. 18th in yards per target, 18th in yards per reception. And some of those games were without Justin Herbert as the quarterback. So, again, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Joshua Palmer is the messiah for fantasy football. That he's going to be a league winner, top 12 receiver. But at wide receiver 58, he's the #1 receiver on the Chargers. You're going to feel happy about that selection. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you didn't enjoy, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below while you're down there. Whether you are new to the channel or not, make sure you leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to check me out on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. Check out one of the videos on your screen right now. I love you guys. Have a great one. And as always, we'll be back on Monday with some more banger content. Love you guys. Good boy.